Hello, Arizona. My name is Josue Romero, and this is the Silicon Oasis Spotlight. Welcome back. It is a beautiful Sunday afternoon, and I am stoked to have here with me today. Please introduce yourself.
Hey everyone, my name is Raghav Bansal.
Let's go. And where do you work, Raghav? What do you do?
So I'm the founder of GitHired.
Raghav, I'm so glad you're here today, man. We met a couple of months ago, and I remember our introduction to each other was over one of the hackathons you were hosting. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct, and so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Let's go, man. So please tell us a little bit about your background. What got you to the point of building GitHired?
So I'm a senior right now, majoring in computer science at Arizona State University. I'm also the founder of GitHired, and I've been working on it for the last 3 months. But a bit about me. I've been into the startup space for a while now. I've built multiple products before this. This is my third startup actually. My first one was a music space. In the music space, it was called Ayats. We were backed by Techstars. Made a lot of memories, not enough money though. Had to shut it down.
Oh, that's cool. It's a silly question to ask, are you into music? So let me shift it to, did you grow up in a music home, or what was the...
Funny enough, I'm not. I was the tech co-founder. It was my co-founder who grew up in that background and who actually belonged in the music space.
Gotcha. And then you found the solution was cool, so you helped along, or how did you get involved in that?
Exactly. So it was also more about the person. I trusted him, he was a pretty cool person. I had this belief and loved working with him. And so obviously the solution as well sounded very fantastic to me. And so, we just took it from there and built out for 6 months.
Oh, nice. Dude, that's really cool. So something that I like that you touched on that I think is underrated to everyone outside of startups is when you have a partner you believe in or bosses you believe in, you will just run through brick walls multiple times for them. And that's just, if you're not involved in tech, that's something that's really, really important, to be able to believe in your co-founders and your partners and your bosses. I think goes a lot farther than just like a check, right? Like you said, you said it didn't make a lot of money, and 95% of startups end up failing anyway, so it's not a surprise there, right? I'm sure the founder was great and you were great as well. A team just gets much more excited when you're working together and you have that belief in the solution and you're running towards it. Awesome. So how did that help in laying down the building blocks to get to GitHired? Was GitHired right after that, or what was the time in between?
No, so we learned a lot from that. It was obviously also one of my first startups. It was his first startup as well. So there was a lot that we learned from that. And then we started our second venture, which was called Versant. It was an AI ad platform which we built together. And it's still going. He's still working on it. I had to leave that one, multiple reasons, personal as well as, I had to leave that one, but that's when I started building GitHired, and I think everything that I've learned from those last two startups has had a huge impact to where we are now, and it's very exciting to be working on GitHired now.
It's really exciting as well because you mentioned earlier that you're about to graduate. Is that correct? From Arizona State University. First of all, congrats. That's amazing. Graduation, always such a fun time. I had the privilege of graduating in 2021 during COVID days, so it was a bit different, but nonetheless, right, it's a milestone to reach, so congrats on that. And during your time as a student, you were very involved in different clubs and hackathons. Is that right?
Yeah. So it hasn't been too long. The hackathon thing I had this hackathon fever just like 1 year ago, and since then I've taken part in multiple hackathons.
12 hackathons?
No,
how many?
like 7 or 8.
Okay, cool.
And I won like 6 of them. And
let's go.
And
casual, yeah.
And GitHired as well. It started at a hackathon. It started at Calax, in fact, Berkeley's hackathon. So we ended up winning the hackathon and decided to take this further.
Oh, that's really cool. I didn't know it was at CalHacks. So I remember seeing the announcement that you guys posted, and I know the Silicon Oasis reposted that.
Yes.
But that's where GitHired was born, at CalHacks?
Yes.
Let's go, dude. That's awesome, man.
Thank you. Yeah.
And you've hosted a couple yourself.
Yes. I've also hosted one hackathon. I know there are a couple of students that we know who like hosting these for various reasons. What is your reasoning for hosting a hackathon? So that's a good question, right? number one, I just become the president of Startup Village, and this was an area that, again, I've been in the startup space for a while now, and so I had a lot of contacts with fellow founders, and so I thought the biggest problem that I see, and my thinking was, I need to actually help founders, and I want to help people who are interested in working at a startup. And so my mentality was, I want to make ASU. Obviously, there's a huge difference between the ecosystem at Stanford or those other universities as compared to ASU. And so to promote that ecosystem, I thought a hackathon would be great, but this was not a normal hackathon. This was not a typical hackathon. What was different here was I brought 3 startups, which were all ASU students, founded by ASU students, and they were all funded startups that had raised anywhere from 1 to 3 million, and they were all hiring. And so if a person is not ready to have their own startup, it's always good to work at a startup.
Agreed.
And so there's so many people who wanted to work at startups in my network as well. And so we hosted this hackathon where all of these founders came and they gave their problem statements, and people who were interested in working at a startup solved those problem statements. And we had 3 winners from each of the tracks who directly got interviewed at those startups.
Dude, that was awesome. And I know Silicon Oasis had a presence there, and we loved seeing that because 2 things I want to touch on that you just mentioned. One is, it is obvious that Arizona's tech ecosystem is not the same as others, right? We're just not at that caliber. That's an okay and good thing to admit. Love that, by the way, because I feel sometimes people like to turn a blind eye to that and say, hey, we either need to do this or we need to do that, and then no one does anything about it. So what Raghav did, everyone, was he said, screw that, I'm going to host something with people from our own ecosystem, and then have those same people who came from our ecosystem and have raised $1 to $3 million support the next wave of builders in the state. And that was awesome, dude. Those are exactly the types of initiatives we like supporting at Silicon Oasis, because it's looking inward, saying, how can we help? And saying, hey, who's done this before? Get over here. Please help the next step. So that is awesome, man. Thank you so much again for that.
And it's also, now looking at it in the retrospect, it's also exactly similar to what we are doing at GitHired, right? We are still helping startups find these cracked engineers from, could be college or recent grads, but that is our ICP right now.
And I was going to ask about that next, so that was a great segue. What are you building? If you had to give it a one-liner, what it is, and then we can actually hop right into what are people just not getting about it, right? Why GitHired now?
So what is GitHired? Think of GitHired as an AI recruiter that helps startups find the most cracked coders out there. AI has changed the game out there. One engineer can now do the job of 10 engineers. These are the people that I like to call 10x engineers. And we make it super easy and fast for startups to find these 10x engineers. Because if you look at the traditional hiring methods, right, everyone can now just tailor their resume based on the job description to look like the perfect candidate. Most of them have never actually built anything in real life. And so what we do is, instead of looking at those keywords on a resume, we look at the things a person has actually done. So we analyze the code they've written, the projects they've built, the complexity of all of that, and how well it aligns with the role. Using this, we evaluate each applicant and show the startups who those 10x engineers are. So they don't have to go through hundreds of resumes. We'll give them the most cracked coders.
Let's go. And are there companies working with GitHired already? Do you have any examples on the reviews they perhaps have given?
Yes. So we're working with 10 to 12 startups. All of them are VC-backed startups that have raised somewhere from 1 million to 15 million. Some of them are backed by YC and other top accelerators as well. So that is our ideal customer, and we are just helping them hire right now. The top feedback that we have received so far is most of these startups want to skip the hassle of. Actually, this is a good point.
Nice.
What we think, and what I used to think before getting into this, was most startups just hire publicly. And the reason we think is because that's what's in front of our eyes. We open LinkedIn and we see so many job postings, and we assume that these are all the jobs. What a lot of people don't realize is that most startups actually don't hire publicly. And in fact, most of the jobs that you see on LinkedIn are more for marketing than people actually hiring through that.
Yep.
But most of these startups hire through their network, or there's a lot of different ways, but most of them actually don't hire through LinkedIn. And a good reason for that is the kind of people that these startups need are not unemployed and actively looking for jobs. So there's a lot of nuance that goes into it, and that's something I realized. And what we do now is we help source candidates for startups as well. So up until now, it was more focused on evaluating their own applicants. Now what we are also doing is helping source these applicants through GitHub and LinkedIn. So people who have worked on similar stuff in the past. If you need someone on the machine learning side, we look at people who have done some amazing stuff on that site. Could be through their GitHub projects, could be through LinkedIn, the companies they've worked in. And we'll show you these people again ranked based on their profiles and the things they've actually built, not what they say they can build.
Dude, that's awesome, man. I love that you went into a whole specific spiel in detail about it, because that is exactly what audiences need to hear. I think too often when founders appear on podcasts or some sort of media features, they like to give very high level stuff. And that's good, right? But the point of our podcast is to make sure founders are telling their why, the nitty gritty details behind why they're building what they're building and how it's helping real people. I love that you said, yeah, you're working with, you said what, 10 to 15 startups, right? And then how old is your startup? It's months old, right?
Not too old, honestly. It's been like 3 months.
That's what I'm saying. So that's good evidence. That's a good example of if you just have a solution and you believe in it and you do your research and if you just move, right? If you just get into action and move, good things can come. Good things can and will come. And something I appreciated about you, Raghav, is that not only have you participated in 7 hackathons and won 6, which is awesome, by the way, you took that and you said, yes, I can build myself, and then how can I help those who also need that help? So in terms of students and startups, that's amazing. Is there something about you that people don't know that you think would be useful for the world to know?
People don't know a lot about me. This is the first time I'm podcasting, and it's still outside my comfort zone.
You're doing great though, so yeah, good job.
Thank you. Yeah, so I've started posting a lot more on LinkedIn and sort of building that presence, because I'm no longer just the tech co-founder. There's a lot more than just building the product now. So yeah, just sort of putting myself out there, and hopefully people get to see a lot more of me and learn about me now.
Honestly, yeah, I think that's how I know we've connected since that hackathon we co-hosted together, but I always commend founders who are very technical when they start posting, because one, for a lot of them, it's just an extremely uncomfortable thing to do, but two, it works. I know there are several founders who just have never posted and they start posting, and then I'll text them, hey, saw this post, thought it was great. And they're like, I had no idea what I was writing. Like, I just put something to put something out there, and I was like, no, I'm seeing it. It gets their name out, and there's the whole algorithm thing. So if I click like, then my network sees it, and so it's tough. But congrats on that again, man. I know it's useful, and it will be good in the long run. Getting out of the comfort zone on that end is great. I forget what recent big fund actually talked about this, but I know that one of my favorite tech influencers, if you want to call him that, his name is Andrew Young, but he just posted about how engineering will always be a strong moat, but it's a more accessible moat now for those who are good engineers. Now it's marketing. How can you get yourself in front of, because if you're a 10x engineer, now you're a 50x with AI and other tools, but you could build the coolest thing ever, but if people don't understand what you're building, then it doesn't really matter. So you're doing good, man. That's good that you're starting to post. That's great. And if there's one ask you could ask of the world, whether it be with GitHired or what would that be, right?
If you know anyone cracked, have them sign up on GitHired. Or if you know a startup looking for a cracked engineer, reach out to us. Maybe I know someone.
Let's go, dude. Okay, so last question, and this one can be a short answer as well, right? Would love your experience and how it's been for you building in Arizona. Yay or nay? What's the... Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that's a good answer.
So obviously there's some upsides and some downsides.
Yep.
The upsides is actually the downside. I'll start with the downside.
Let's go.
It's obviously a very small community of founders. You go somewhere like SF, you just sit in a cafe. Everyone around you is a founder that's building something. Could be an investor or somewhere who is in the startup space. Yep. It's obviously the complete opposite here in Arizona. One downside that I think about often is something that is pretty common in SF might seem a bit too high or abnormal in Arizona.
Yes.
So when you live in SF, big things start to seem small to you as compared to when you're living in Arizona. Some things like, think of YC for example. For me and for some of my friends, YC is so huge. If you go to Arizona, if you go to SF, every other founder there is like a YC backed founder or knows YC backed founder. So big things start to seem small, and I think that's
great.
That's a good part of being in SF. What I like about being here in Phoenix is that because the community is so small, everyone just likes to help each other out a lot more. And me being here and you supporting our hackathon and hosting me here is such a good example of that. And so because we are such a small community, we all just want to help each other succeed and help each other out. So I think that's the part I really love about working at Arizona.
No, dude, again, love that you've said it how it is in terms of scale. That's something that we at the Silicon Oasis have really just tried to hit the nail on the head of, which is that you need to move at extraordinary, not just you, right? Just the ecosystem needs to move at extraordinary, phenomenal speeds and obsessiveness to even match something great. And I've said it a million times and I'll probably keep saying it, but I think Arizona has always benefited from the fourth wave of tech benefits, where a lot of people who want to work in tech here, they think it's about work from home and flexible hours and unlimited PTO. And you go to SF and it's, what do they call it? 996? Have you heard about that? Yeah. So it's like 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 6 days a week, on call on Sunday. And that's, like you said, that's normal. That's not oh no,
one of the startups I'm working with, they want someone who works 7 days a week.
Yeah. I've had companies reach out as well, and they're like, hey, what are you doing in Arizona? Come out here, but it is in person 7 days a week. And that's normal.
Yeah, it is.
So I'm not telling everyone that they need to sell their souls or sell their lives away, but kind of, man. Like, if you want to do something so crazy in tech and have such a big influence and have such a big outcome, you need to do really obsessive things, like you said, right? You need to make these seemingly big things seem normal.
Exactly.
And if you don't want an extraordinary exit, you can still make money. Like, that's, we're not saying you can't do that on a 9 to 5. We're saying if you want phenomenal results, you need to put in phenomenal effort. And the second one, agreed. I love that Arizona is coming together a lot more. And I personally believe Silicon Oasis, my co-founder and I, Kyle, we have a new team member too. Her name's Brenda. She's great. We believe there's space for everyone. Like, everyone can win. Will some startups compete because they're in the same vertical? 100%. But I don't think we need to be cutting people off at the knees to have that type of success. I'm a very shake someone's hand and say, hey, may the best man win. And then if I lose, I lose and I either try again or something else, but never shooting someone while they're turned around. I think that's not great. Yeah. And ultimately, the Silicon Oasis is built on that belief because that's what I saw in New York, dude. Like, a lot of people say, oh, SF is like this or New York's like that. And it's like, look, when I went to grad school out there, I thought it was going to be cutthroat and people were going to step on me. And I guess I just got to New York too late to live that because I got there in 2021 and everyone was so nice. My teachers wrote me the best recommendations. My classmates who worked in IB and PE, they were just like, oh, you need help? Yeah, let's hop on later tonight. I got 45 minutes. Ask anything you need. And they would give me everything. And I was like, okay, well, there's no way that Arizona can be less than that. Like, we need to also be that way. Hence the nonprofit that we largely bootstrapped for 2 years. But I'm glad to hear that. That's the positive. I'll say that. So that's really cool to see, man. Dude, I know we're coming up on time. Raghav, thank you so much for being here. But if there's a one-liner you want to leave the world with, what would that be?
I think we are going through a revolution, and software development has changed fundamentally. Everyone's asking questions. We're just trying to give you some answers. And I think software development has changed fundamentally, but the way software developers are hired is still the same. And help us in our mission to, leave those outdated methods and revolutionize how software engineers are hired.
Love it, dude. Where can people find you? Is it LinkedIn? Is it Instagram, and what's the handle? What's the username?
So I'm not on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn. My name is Raghav Bansal, and you can also check out GitHired.tech.
There we go. GitHired.tech. Are you also on LinkedIn for GitHired or just the website?
You can find most of the links through the website, or you could look up Raghav Bansal on LinkedIn.
Sounds good, guys. Well, you've heard it here. GitHired, making waves already. Great proof that if you want to build something, just run with it in a direction, because that's most of startups. You're just you have maybe 30% of the info, and you're figuring out the 70% as you just execute. Yeah. So, and if you know of any cracked engineers, right, have them sign up at GitHired.tech. All right, everyone. Well, Raghav, thank you so much for coming here today. Loved having you. And thanks, everyone, for listening. And we'll catch you next time on the Silicon Oasis Spotlight.